An abandoned woman, jobless, penniless, and hopeless, lies on the floor of her empty Seattle apartment, murmuring to God for the last time, thinking her life is over. She feels like she's falling into an endless abyss, but then, someone knocks on the door. A neighbor she barely knows says he felt something and wanted to check on her. What seemed like mere kindness was the beginning of a miracle that would change everything, a journey of pain, redemption, and a love that came just when she thought God had given up on her. You won't believe how this story ends. It was almost midnight when Emily Collins collapsed. It wasn't a dramatic collapse, you know. It was more of a slow fading, like a candle that burns down and simply ceases to exist. She was there, sitting on the cold floor of her Capitol Hill apartment, surrounded by open cardboard boxes, bills stamped in red overdue, scattered around, and a silence so heavy it felt suffocating. Seattle was freezing outside. The rain beat against the window with that irritating consistency, that kind of noise that reminds you that you're alone, very alone. Emily was 34 years old, her brown hair disheveled and falling over her tear-stained face, her eyes red and swollen from crying so much. She was wearing an old sweatshirt and pajama pants, the same clothes she'd worn 2 days ago. She didn't even have the strength for that anymore. 3 months ago, her husband, Derek, simply walked out the door and never came back. There was no explosive fight, no shouting. He just left. He left a note on the kitchen table. "I can't do this anymore, I'm sorry." That was it. 7 years of marriage summed up in one cold sentence. Emily spent weeks calling, texting, begging for an explanation. Nothing. He blocked everything, vanished like smoke. And then came the second blow. The company where she had worked as an administrative assistant for 6 years made cuts. Emily was one of the first on the list. Restructuring, they said. Nothing personal, they said. But it was personal. Her life was crumbling piece by piece. She tried to apply for unemployment benefits, gathered all the paperwork, waited weeks, and was denied. Some bureaucratic error, some technicality she didn't understand. She tried to appeal, but the system seemed designed to crush people like her. Now, there on the floor of that apartment she wasn't even sure she could afford the following month. Emily felt as if the whole world was collapsing on top of her. Literally, she had no one left. Her mother had died 2 years ago. Father? She never knew him. Friends? Most disappeared when the marriage ended. They were just friends. From them, not hers. Loneliness was a physical, heavy thing that pressed against her chest until it hurt. She hugged her knees and closed her eyes. Tears continued to fall, but they no longer made a sound. It was a dry, exhausted cry, the kind that comes from such a deep place that it no longer has a voice. And then she whispered, her voice completely broken, "God, are you still there?" It wasn't exactly a prayer. It was more of a silent cry of despair, a last attempt to find something, somebody that she still cared. Emily grew up going to church with her mother. She knew the stories. She knew the songs. She had even been baptized. But after her mother died, after Derek left, after everything fell apart, she stopped believing, or rather, she stopped to feel that God was there. It seemed as if he had given up on her. Or worse, that he had never been there from the beginning. She stood there in the dark, waiting. Waiting for what? She didn't even know. A sign, perhaps. An answer, something that would say it was worth continuing. But all she heard was the rain beating against the window and the suffocating silence of the empty apartment. And then, tuck, tuck, tuck. Emily suddenly lifted her head, confused. It was almost midnight. Who would knock at this hour? She quickly wiped away her tears, trying to compose herself, and dragged herself to the door. She looked through the peephole and saw a man standing in the hallway, tall, about 38 years old, with slightly messy dark hair, wearing a gray wool coat. She recognized him immediately. It was Noah, the neighbor from the end of the hall. They had crossed paths a few times in the elevator, exchanged polite "hi" and "how are you," but had never had a real conversation. Emily hesitated. Part of her wanted to pretend she wasn't home, but another part, perhaps the part desperate for any human connection, made her open the door slowly. "Hi, Emily, right?" Noah asked, his voice calm and gentle. He had deep brown eyes, and something in them conveyed genuine concern. Hi," she replied, trying to hide her face, swollen from crying. "Is something wrong?" Noah scratched the back of his neck, looking a little embarrassed. "Look, I know this is going to sound strange, but I was at home a little while ago, and I had this really strong urge to come see if you were okay. I know we barely know each other, but I couldn't ignore it, you know? It's hard to explain." Emily blinked, confused. "Impulse?" "Yes," he said, with an embarrassed half-smile. "I know how it sounds, but really, I felt I needed to come here. Are you okay?" And that's when Emily broke down again. She couldn't hold back. The tears came rushing back and she covered her face with her hands, her shoulders trembling. "No," she whispered. "No, I'm not." Noah didn't hesitate. "May I come in?" She nodded, unable to speak. He entered slowly, closed the door behind him, and looked around. The boxes, the bills, the mess. He understood everything in a second. "Sit here," he said gently, pointing to the old sofa. Emily obeyed, still trembling. Noah sat beside her, keeping a respectful distance, and waited. He didn't force anything. He just waited. And then Emily began to speak. She told him everything. About Derek, about the job, about the denied aid, about the overwhelming loneliness. The words flowed uncontrollably, as if they had been held back for a long time. Noah listened attentively, nodding occasionally, his eyes filled with compassion. When she finally finished, exhausted, Noah took a deep breath. "Emily," he said softly, "I don't think I came here by chance." She looked at him, confused. "I'm a Christian," Noah continued, "and I've learned to listen to those promptings. Sometimes God speaks softly, you know? Not with a thundering voice, but with a little nudge to the heart. And tonight, I felt I needed to be here. You asked if God is still there. Emily, He is. And I think He sent me here to show you that." Emily didn't know what to say. Part of her wanted to believe, but the pain was too great. "Stay here," Noah said, standing up. "I'll go get something." He returned 10 minutes later with 2 bags. One was full of hot food, soup, bread, fruit. The other contained basic supplies. "Have you eaten today?" he asked. Emily shook her head, embarrassed. "Then let's take care of this first," Noah said, and began heating up the soup in her kitchen. While she ate, her first decent meal in days, Noah began organizing the boxes, sorting the bills, bringing order to the chaos. He didn't make empty promises. He didn't say everything would magically be all right. He just was there. And in that moment, that was exactly what Emily needed. Noah stayed until almost 2 in the morning. He helped Emily organize the bills, make a list of priorities, and catch her breath again. When he finally left, she felt something she hadn't felt in months, a tiny thread of hope. It was fragile, almost imperceptible, but it was there. The next morning, Noah returned. He knocked on the door at 9 o'clock sharp, with fresh coffee and bagels. "Good morning," he said with a smile. "I thought you might need this." Emily was still processing everything. She barely knew this man, and there he was again, bringing coffee as if they were old friends. "Noah, you don't need to do this," she said, still somewhat suspicious. "I know," he replied, going inside. "But I want to. Look, I know what it's like to feel alone. I went through something similar a few years ago. And back then, if someone had appeared for me the way I appeared for you, it would have made all the difference." They sat at the small kitchen table. Noah told his own story. He had been married too. His wife, Sarah, had died in a car accident 3 years ago. He spiraled into depression, anger, and self-doubt. He stopped going to church, stopped praying, stopped believing in anything. It was on a particularly dark night, when he was thinking of giving up on everything, that a pastor knocked on his door, a man he had never seen before. The pastor said he was visiting the neighborhood and felt he should stop there. "He saved my life that night," Noah said, his eyes welling up with tears. "When he took me back to church, helped me process the pain, showed me that God hadn't abandoned me, even when I felt like he had. And since then, I try to do the same for others. When I feel that urge, that little nudge in my heart, I go. Always." Emily listened to everything in silence, absorbing every word. For the first time in a long time, she didn't feel alone in her pain. "There's something I'd like to ask you," Noah said hesitantly. "There's a service at my church on Sunday. It's a small, welcoming place. No pressure, no judgment, just real people going through real things. Would you come with me?" Emily bit her lip. The idea of going to church, of being surrounded by people, of having to pretend she was okay. It seemed exhausting, but something inside her, perhaps that thread of hope Noah had planted, made her agree. "Okay," she whispered. "I'll go." On Sunday, Noah came to pick her up. Emily had dressed up for the first time in weeks. Nothing fancy, just jeans and a simple sweater, but it was progress. They drove to Grace Community Church, a small red brick church in the Fremont neighborhood. Inside, it was exactly as Noah had described. Welcoming, warm, full of genuinely smiling people. As soon as they entered, a woman of about 50 approached. She had gray hair tied in a bun and a smile that lit up her whole face. "Noah, it's so good to see you." She turned to Emily. "And you must be Emily. Noah told us about you." "Welcome, dear. I'm Linda." Emily squeezed her hand, surprised. "He told you about me, just what's necessary," Noah said quickly. "I asked for prayers for you. I hope everything is all right." Linda placed her hand on Emily's shoulder. "You're in good hands here, dear. We've all been through our storms. That's what we're here for, to support each other when life gets tough." The service began. The music was simple, but there was something about it that touched me deeply. Emily didn't sing. She just stood there, listening, feeling. The pastor was an older man, with glasses and a firm but gentle voice. He spoke about Psalm 34:18. "The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit." Emily felt something break inside her. It was as if those words were meant directly for her, as if God were saying, "I saw you on the floor of your apartment. I heard you call me, and I answered." After the service, several people came to talk to her. Mark and Jennifer, a couple in their early 40s, invited her to their Wednesday Bible study group. Sarah, a 25-year-old, offered help with resumes and job searching. She worked in HR. Tom, a man in his 60s who owned a small coffee shop, said he needed someone to work the cash register if she was interested. Emily was completely stunned. In one morning, she had received more support, more kindness, more presence than in the entire last 3 months. She could barely process it. "See?" Noah said on the way back. "You're not alone, Emily. You never were. You just needed a little push to realize it." In the following days, Emily's life began to change. Slowly. But it changed. She accepted the job at Tom's coffee shop. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills. He started going to the Bible study group with Noah. He met more people. He made real friends, and little by little, he began to rebuild her life. But more than that, she began to rebuild the faith. Her conversations with Noah were deep and honest. He never forced anything, never preached. He only shared what he believed and let Emily reach her own conclusions. And she was getting there. Slowly, but she was. One night, about 2 months after that first knock on the door, Emily and Noah were sitting on her sofa, now tidy, now cozy, drinking tea. The rain was pattering against the window again, but this time the sound wasn't lonely. It was comforting. "You know," Emily said, looking at the cup in her hands, "I spent so much time angry at God, thinking he had abandoned me, but now I realize he never left. I just couldn't see it." Noah smiled. "It's hard to see in the dark, but the light always comes back, Emily. Always." She looked at him. Really looked. Noah wasn't just the kind neighbor who had knocked on her door. He was someone who understood, someone who had gone through the same pain, the same darkness, and had come out on the other side. Someone God had used to change her life. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything, for being here, for not giving up on me when I'd given up on myself. You never needed to thank me," Noah said softly. "It was God who guided me to you. I simply obeyed." They were silent for a moment, but it wasn't an uncomfortable silence. It was the kind of silence that exists between people who understand each other without needing words. And it was there, in that quiet moment, that something changed between them. It wasn't dramatic. There was no background music or cinematic lighting. It was just real. Emily realized she felt something for Noah that went beyond gratitude. And Noah, well, he felt it too. But neither of them said anything. Not yet. There was still time. Months passed. Their friendship deepened. They began spending more time together. Simple dinners, walks in Pike Place Market, conversations that lasted late into the night. Emily continued to grow in faith. She read the Bible again, prayed again, felt God's presence again, and Noah was there, always, like a firm pillar beside her. One spring evening, they were walking along the shore of Alki Beach. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. Noah stopped suddenly and looked at Emily. "What was it?" she asked, smiling. He hesitated, as if gathering courage. "Emily, you changed my life too, you know." She blinked, surprised. "Me? How?" "After Sarah died, I kind of shut down, you know. I helped others, went to church, did all the right things. But emotionally, I was locked up, afraid to open up again, to truly connect. And then you came along and showed me that it's still worth it." Emily felt her heart race. "Noah, I know it might be too soon," he continued quickly. "I know you've been through a lot and need time, but I needed to tell you. I've fallen in love with you, Emily. For real. And if you don't feel the same way, that's okay. Emily didn't let him finish. She stepped forward and kissed him. It was a soft kiss, full of meaning, full of everything they had been through together. When they parted ways, Noah was grinning like a fool. "I fell in love with you too," Emily whispered. "I think it started that first night when you knocked on my door. You saved my life, Noah. You showed me God again." Their relationship was unlike anything Emily had ever experienced. With Derek, it had been intense, fast, full of empty promises. With Noah, it was solid, built on a foundation of faith, friendship, and genuine respect. They weren't in a hurry. They didn't need to be. They knew they were building something to last. They continued going to church together, growing together spiritually. Emily became more involved in the community, helping with the women's ministry, serving at the food bank on Saturdays, sharing her testimony with others who were going through difficult times. Her story of redemption, of how God had answered her desperate cry by sending Noah, touched hearts. Many people wept when they heard it. Many people saw themselves in her. Noah, for his part, remained that kind, caring man who listened to the promptings of the Spirit. He and Emily became something of a team, always keeping an eye out for those who needed help, a kind word or presence. They understood that they had been united by a greater purpose. It wasn't just about the two of them. It was about what God could do through from them. A year and a half after that first night, Noah took Emily back to Alki Beach. It was autumn now, the air cold and the sky gray, typical of Seattle. They walked hand in hand along the sand when Noah stopped in the same spot where they had confessed their feelings. "Emily," he said, turning her to face him. His eyes were shining with a mixture of nervousness and joy. "There's something I want to ask you." Her heart raced. She knew what was coming. Noah knelt right there on the wet sand and took a small box out of his pocket. Inside, a simple but beautiful ring with a tiny stone that sparkled even under the cloudy sky. "I don't believe in coincidences," he began, his voice choked with emotion. "I believe in God, and I believe He orchestrated every second of our story. He guided me to your door that night. He transformed your suffering into purpose. He brought us together so that we could be a light for each other and for others. Emily Collins, you are the answer to a prayer I didn't even know I was praying. Will you marry me? Tears streamed down Emily's face, but this time they were tears of pure joy. Yes, she whispered, and then repeated louder, laughing and crying at the same time. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. Noah placed the ring on her finger and stood up, pulling her into a tight embrace. There, on the cold, windy Seattle beach, they stayed like that for a long time, simply feeling their gratitude overflowing. The wedding took place 6 months later, in a small and intimate ceremony at Grace Community Church. Linda decorated everything with simple but beautiful flowers. Tom made the cake. Sarah sang during the ceremony. Mark and Jennifer were the best man and maid of honor. It was all perfect, not because it was grand, but because it was, from them, full of people who truly cared, who had walked with them, who had seen God act in real time. When the pastor asked if Noah accepted Emily as his wife, he replied in a firm voice, "I do, and I thank God every day for guiding me to her." When it was Emily's turn, she looked into Noah's eyes and said, "I accept, and I thank God for not giving up on me, even when I had given up on myself." There was no dry eye in the church. Married life was everything Emily had dreamed of but never achieved with Derek. Noah was a true partner. Through good times and bad, through big and small decisions, they prayed together every morning. They read the Bible together. They served together. It was a marriage built on God, and that made all the difference. A year after their wedding, Emily discovered she was pregnant. The news came on an ordinary Tuesday morning. She had felt nauseous the previous week, but thought it was just something she had eaten. Noah insisted she take a test, and when those 2 lines appeared, the whole world stopped. "Noah," she called, her voice trembling. He came running from his room. "What happened? Are you okay?" Emily showed the test, unable to speak. Noah looked, blinked, looked again, and then a huge smile spread across his face. "Seriously? Really?" He picked her up and spun her around, both of them laughing and crying at the same time. "We're going to be parents." The pregnancy was peaceful, full of anticipation and joy. They prepared the baby's room together, painting the walls a soft yellow and carefully assembling the crib. Emily felt fulfilled in a way she had never felt before. It wasn't just the pregnancy, it was everything. The life she had now, the love she had, faith that she had. One night, already in her 7th month, she was lying on the sofa with her hand on her belly when Noah sat down next to her. "What are you thinking about?" he asked, stroking her hair. "In how everything changed," she replied softly. "Remember that night? When I was on the floor of my apartment feeling like it was all over? I remember," Noah said, taking her hand. "If someone had told me that night that in 2 years I would be here, married, pregnant, happy, full of faith, I wouldn't have believed it. It seemed impossible. It felt like I was falling into a bottomless pit, but you weren't," Noah said gently. "You were falling into God's arms. He just waited for the right moment to catch you." Emily smiled, her eyes welling with tears. "And he sent you, and he sent me," Noah repeated. "Because that's how God works, love. He uses people, he uses circumstances, he even uses pain to bring something beautiful. Nothing is wasted with him." They stood there in silence, feeling the baby kick gently. It was one miracle upon another. When their daughter was born, a beautiful little girl with big eyes and chubby cheeks whom they named Grace, after the church where it all began, Emily held the baby in her arms and wept. They were tears of pure, uncontrollable gratitude. "Hi, Grace," she whispered to her daughter. "You don't know it yet, but your life is a miracle. You exist because God didn't give up on your mom when she thought it was all over. You exist because God sent your dad to knock on my door exactly when I needed him most. And I promise to teach you about this God who listens, who acts, who restores." Noah was beside her, with an arm around them both, crying too. Years passed. Grace grew up surrounded by love, faith, and community. Emily continued working at the coffee shop, now as manager, and loved every minute. Noah remained that faithful man, always attentive to the promptings of the Spirit, always ready to help those in need. And together, they continued telling their story, in testimonies at church, in conversations with friends, in counseling sessions with struggling couples. Because their story wasn't just theirs, it was God's. It was about how He never abandons, how He transforms ashes into beauty, how He answers prayers, sometimes in ways we could never imagine. Emily looked back now, at that cold night in the empty apartment, and could hardly believe it. The broken woman on the floor murmuring, "God, are you still there?" had become this woman, strong, loved, full of purpose and unwavering faith. And the answer to the question she had asked that night, it was crystal clear. Yes, Emily, God was there. He always was. He was just waiting for the perfect moment to send the miracle. And that miracle literally knocked on her door. Emily and Noah's story reminds us that God is never silent, even when pain screams so loudly it seems impossible to hear anything else. Sometimes He answers through a knock on the door, sometimes through a prompting in someone's heart, but He answers. If you're having a dark night right now, remember, a miracle might be on its way. Maybe it's already knocking. Just open the door. If this story touched you in any way, leave a like, comment what you thought, and subscribe to the channel to keep hearing stories like this. Stories of faith, hope, and the love that transforms everything. Like this other one I'm going to leave here, and I guarantee you'll like it too.